Hi, I'm Brian Garman, the artistic director and co-founder of Berkshire Opera Festival, and this is OperaLens, our new online series where we take a look at our upcoming season and at all things BOF. I'm very happy today to welcome the artist who's singing the role of Mr. Ford in our upcoming production of Verdi's Falstaff. He is a grand prize winner of the 2019 Metropolitan Opera National Council auditions and an alumnus of the Houston Grand Opera Studio. And his recent seasons have taken him to Minnesota Opera, Arizona, Houston, and Atlanta in a wide variety of roles. We're delighted to have him in the Berkshires this summer. This is baritone Thomas Glass. Tommy, welcome to you.
Hi, thanks for having me, Brian.
So this role, Ford, in August will be your debut with us. And I know that our audience is very eager to learn more about you. So I'm curious if you could tell us what first sparked your interest and love for music and singing? Is your family musical, or did this come from elsewhere?
Yes, my family is musical. The joke is that my mom and dad were in university college choir together, and they were friends before that, I understand. But yeah, music has always been a part of my life and my family's life. I grew up in the suburbs of Minneapolis, in Edina, and in Minnesota, as I understand it is in other parts of the country, choir is huge. And so I was always involved with singing, and I played band tuba when I was younger as well. But growing up, I always loved to sing. It was something I had a passion for, certainly, but I didn't really think I would be actually like making a living and doing this professionally, to be honest. And I kind of realized that during college, I could go to grad school. And then, once I made that step, go to grad school, said, oh, I could actually do this. And so it kind of went from there. But no, I have three younger siblings, my brother and two sisters. And between all four of us, we are SATB, soprano, alto, tenor, and baritone. So wow. It all works out.
Yeah, I wondered if choir was your gateway. I knew you were from Minnesota. I'm from Iowa, so I understand the grand choral tradition there in the Midwest.
Yes, definitely.
Turning our attention to Falstaff for a minute, as I said, this will be your debut at Berkshire Opera Festival, but also your debut as Ford. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That is correct.
And you're also singing one of Macbeth's arias on our Shakespeare concert earlier in August. And I have a hunch that there will be a lot more Verdi in your future. Since Verdi wrote for baritones unlike anybody ever had before, how are you finding singing his music? Do you find any special challenges or rewards to it?
I mean, it's okay. So two things. I am a sucker for a good tune. And I love, I'm a voice nerd. I love technique. I love that sort of stuff and figuring out how it works. And, Verdi, it fits me really well because I think Verdi was the first composer that really understood the baritone voice and kind of what makes it special compared to the other voice types. And that all kind of has to do with how he approached, I'm going to use a technical term, the second passaggio. And that's a special place in the voice for baritones. It's usually around D, E flat, E-ish or so. And Verdi understood really how to approach it, how to treat it, and then how to sort of make our voices sound as exciting in the repertoire as other voice types had the opportunity to do before. Other composers had kind of gotten close to it. For example, Largo al Factotum from Barbara Seville, that's kind of written as a Verdi baritone aria a little bit. The rest of the role, not so much. But that first thing, he understood how to treat that as well. But no other composer really embraced it, I think, and made the baritone a voice type. It wasn't really, it existed sort of before Verdi created it, but I really think he was the guy that brought us forth, out of the bass baritone bass sort of murky mire area. But learning Ford has just been a joy. It is so much fun. This opera in particular, I mean, it's Verdi's last opera and he was going somewhere crazy. I feel very lucky that I get the opportunity to sing this music. I think that the Verdi operas, I mean, they're kind of the spaghetti and meatballs of opera, but they're for a reason. They're amazing pieces and they're written incredibly well. And the baritones in them are pretty cool also. But I Yeah, I definitely enjoy singing Verdi. I've certainly dabbled in several other of his arias and, you know, some of this scenes and that sort of stuff. And so far, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think it will fit me pretty well going down the line. But we're taking it one step at a time, and I'm really glad that Ford is my first step into this repertoire.
Yeah, that's great. You know, for our audiences, when we talk about this Verdi baritone, you know, it was something that the Verdi it to a certain extent created. It requires a
Yep.
lot of sound. These roles, they require a lot of stamina. They tend to lie sometimes relentlessly high. You know, if you think of Macbeth or Papa Germont in Traviata or Rigoletto, which is maybe the most emblematic of all, you know, these things are not child's play. That's for sure. And I have no doubt that they're going to fit your voice very well. I'd like you to talk to us a little bit about Mr. Ford. He's one of the few characters in this opera who has moments that aren't purely comic. So I'm wondering what you can tell us about his character and his music that we might find especially interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so this is all based on Shakespeare. It is bits and pieces of Shakespeare put together, and Shakespeare, as the master dramatist, had each character serving a purpose in the drama. And Ford is sort of that spark plug where he comes on, he's all energy. And a friend of mine said something recently that kind of stuck with me, that the key to playing comedy is that you have to play it 100% serious all the time. You can't be in on the joke. And that's kind of the key with Ford. And he gets so worked up. He's such a hot and cold kind of guy. It doesn't take much to get him going. And, you know, he at his core believes that all women are by nature dishonest. And so he is just constantly on his game, thinking that Alice is, you know, making him a cuckold, you know, going around, screwing around with other people. And it's a part of his core belief. And that's kind of the comedy in it. It's so ridiculous. That's what he believes. He is a ball of energy every time he comes on stage, and his music reflects that. He's all over the place. I mean, Ford's aria is not really one through line of a piece. It's sort of all over the place, grabbing, you know, bits and pieces as his brain, you know, spirals down into this sort of manic state that he finds himself in. He thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And that's kind of what makes him funny, because as the audience, we can look at him and say, you're just an idiot. And, you know, of course, in the end, there's that wonderful scene where he kind of tries to boast to Falstaff, and then Falstaff turns around and says, you know, who's lo cornuto chi all that bit in Act 3. He is the idiot at the end of it all, but he doesn't believe he's the idiot in any point in the opera. He thinks he is 100% valid, serious. All these women are just awful, horrible, you know, innately not horrible. They're just innately flawed, I guess, is the way he would think. And it's his job to protect them.
Yeah, and you make a very interesting point here, which is this constant fear that he has of being cuckolded when he is playing it serious all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, including the orchestra, is laughing at him, because tying in with also what you just said about Lo Cornuto, we have sort of an inside musical joke when he is always talking about being cuckolded, in that, you know, the cuckold wears the horns, but also it's indicated in the orchestra by French horns playing. So whenever Ford is going on and on and on about being serious about, oh, women are dishonest, we always hear the horns playing in the orchestra, laughing at him in one way or another. So you know, he is certainly driven a lot by this fear and by jealousy, like Othello also, but with much less
that's a great
tragic
comparison.
ends. So after you leave here this summer, what's coming up for you next season? Is there anything you can discuss publicly yet?
Yeah, next season I am getting to do my first Papageno at Houston Grand Opera. I'm really excited about that. It is the Komisch Oper production that's been going around the States. I was actually lucky enough when I was in college, I sang chorus with Minnesota Opera, and they were the first company that did that production in the States. It's a zany, goofy, cartoonish, amazing production. I'm very excited for that. Then I'm actually also making my Metropolitan Opera debut. I'm singing Yamadori in Butterfly in March, and then I will be doing a Mercutio in Houston after that, and then there are other irons in the fire.
Well, that's wonderful. We're certainly happy to have you here this month, and I'm happy that you've taken the time to speak with me today. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Brian. It was a pleasure.
And as a reminder to all of you at home, you can learn more about our upcoming season by visiting our website, which is berkshireoperafestival.org, and by subscribing to our YouTube channel. I'll see you all on the next episode of OperaLens.